Welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free with true solutions to heal for real from narcissistic abuse and painful relationship patterns. More than just information to survive, you are granted the tools to thrive. In today's episode, I'm so pleased to explain to you why detachment is so necessary from a narcissist who you fear, how to take your power back no matter what is happening to you, and how the light, truth, and decency can and does win. Okay, so just before we get started, I'd like to remind you to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and like this video if you find that it resonates with you. Okay, so let's get into the juice and the meat of this episode. So the first thing I want to talk about is necessary detachment. This is so important. It's everything really, because when you're triggered and your attention is on what's happening to you and how the narcissist is hurting you and manipulating you and lying to you and abusing you, adrenaline and cortisol are really triggered within you. And what happens when this happens is you lose power and intelligence. It sucks your energy. It feeds the narcissist. And from this place, things like power, hope, inspiration, solution, support, you are snapped off from that. And also too, this is what you need to understand about narcissists, about dark entities. They feed off negative energy. It's like lower consciousness individuals, and a narcissist is, because they've disconnected from their inner being and source. They're in a lower state of consciousness. What feeds them is more lower consciousness, which means your fear, your pain, your trauma. That's what feeds them. When you get into a higher state of consciousness, that means you're no longer going to be handing over power. Now, of course, you can't just flick that switch. It's impossible to do that. But the first step is to detach. That's your greatest mission, is to detach, is to let go of fighting a fight where you think you might be able to get the upper hand, but what you're actually doing is feeding the monster of lower consciousness, that dark soul, more of your fear and pain, which is going to energize them. And you've got to think of it in reverse to what you normally would. When you raise your consciousness, then you're not on the same battlefield. That means that you can unfold the battle in a much healthier way for yourself. So what you've got to do in the detachment is stop monitoring, stop trying to change, stop checking up on them, stop trying to lecture and prescribe and make them change what they're doing. It's just not going to work. Detachment at the time can feel like the most counterintuitive thing for you to do. You're going to want to latch in and fight back and say things. But I want to just give you some tips. When that trigger hits, because the narcissist knows how to hit you, they know how to say the exact thing to disarm you, derail you, and get you to hook on with negative energy. They know what it is that gets to you. So when that happens, what you need to do is just, you'll feel the trigger go off, you'll feel the impulse to fight back or to feel helpless. And I just want you to turn away, which that is an energy cut in the energy field. Just turn away, breathe, say to yourself, I accept and bless this feeling. And now I am going to go and look after myself. And just deeply breathe and walk away. That's how you start to detach. So that can really help you, just understanding that. So after you detach, we look at taking your power back. The real work of taking your power back is to become anti-fear. Because remember again, it's the lower consciousness of fear that is feeding the beast. Taking your power back is all about releasing the trauma out of your body and filling up where that trauma was with light, which is higher consciousness, which is peace, which is relief, which is solution, which is your true self. And it's hard to understand what that really is until you start doing the work. And NARP is, my Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program, is the easiest, most powerful way I know to get that work done. So when we do that shift, it's about releasing the powerlessness and the helplessness and the trauma literally out of the cells of your being. And by doing that, space opens up. That's what peace actually is. It's a feeling of space in your cells where they were clogged up with trauma. That space is peace. And from that place of space and peace in your cells, what arises is your natural, organic, true self state, which is hope, power, inspiration, solution, and even miracle. And as we talked about before, this cuts off your energy from feeding the narcissist. And when you're no longer attached to a dark soul, a false self, and feeding them that lower vibration, when you've come back into space and peace, your connection drops off from them and connects up to the universal mechanics that will support you with more power and wholeness and peace and solution, which is well-being. Which brings us forward into how light, truth, and decency wins. The light wins. Truth wins. When you are no longer connected to the trauma of the darkness and the fear and the evil, then you've become a powerful source of goodness and the power of truth and the ability to burst forth into that truth and that authenticity and that well-being. And so many of us have experienced this, being in the bowels of darkness, hooked up with a dark entity, feeding them power, to reverse it, to be able to come home to ourselves and generate our life with source and well-being and wholesomeness. And this happened in my life, 100%. And it's happened in so many people's lives, in even the deepest, darkest pits with narcissists, to be able to turn the whole thing around. And I could give you so many examples of this. We hear the examples of this in the NARP members forum, through our support systems, through social media every single day. Even the worst possible experiences of fear, which is things like custody battles and property battles and narcissists threatening you and making you believe that you can't survive without them and that you have no worth and you have no life to look forward to, and you feel like you will never recover from the trauma and the trauma symptoms. Once you start releasing that trauma, then you start to reverse all of that. And you may want to look up the Thriver stories that NARP members have regularly reported. You can actually Google them. You can see them through social media. Absolutely. And there's also people that I've interviewed on YouTube that have turned it all around. And I want to tell you that to give you hope. So I really want you to know you're not alone in this situation of intense, all-consuming fear that you felt with a narcissist. All narcissists incite fear. They feed off your fear. That's why they incite it. And that's how they render you powerless, and they get you to hand your power over to them. And that's all so that they can continue to control you, mine you for narcissistic supply, and hurt you for their own benefit. So you're not alone. There's been so many of us that have been engulfed in that level of trauma before turning inward to do the powerful inner work to release ourselves from this. And I know that you can get out of this intense fear too and create yourself as your powerhouse of being real and true life force. And I'd love to help you get started to get your soul, sanity, and your power back by connecting you up to my free 16-day course, which grants you an empowering healing email every day, as well as lots of other free resources. And you can connect to this resource today by clicking the link at the top right of this video. So I really hope that this has helped give you some hope. And as always, I look forward to answering your comments and questions below. So until the next one, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there is nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.